Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the anime movie Dragon Quest Your Story on Netflix. And I actually really enjoyed this one. I didn't know what I was getting into when I got into this movie, but I was like, okay, I enjoyed Dragon Quest XI. Let's kind of see what's going on here. And granted, I was like, okay, we're starting off in kind of like uh, old school kind of form, like uh, old school Nintendo, and just seeing them kind of going around doing Dragon Quest kind of things. As it then gets into the actual CGI for the movie, and God, it's gorgeous. Like seriously, the animation is very good. The only thing that's off is I watched it dubbed, and the mouth flaps weren't done completely right, but I don't really give a crap about that. I'm like, it was close enough for work that I didn't care, but I was like, God, this is pretty. And we get in and we see that this kid, Luca's born, and then his mother is kidnapped by monsters, and him and his father are like, let's go off and see what's going on. So they're traveling around doing stuff, getting adventures. His father's fighting monsters and everything, and they go and they visit this one kingdom, and this one prince named Harry is kind of being a douche nozzle and acting crappy towards one of his underlings, and he gets kidnapped by a monster. So of course Luca and his father go off to try and save him, and Luca's father's able to like beat up the two monsters. But then we get to Ladja, the kind of wizard dude that's trying to resurrect a demon lord, and he's like got the kid, and pretty much kills Luca's father. Even though Luca's father is pretty much like, hey, you got to go find your mother. She's still alive. It's like, oh god. And then Ladja pretty much captures Luca and Harry and makes them into slaves to help him build this thing so that way he can resurrect a demon lord. And they're up there for 10 years, but they're able to escape through using barrels and getting down into the town. And like, holy crap, yeah. And at first they like cover themselves in pretty much shit, so that way they smell so bad that nobody will really look in there. But they get chased around, and then this one old dude finds them like, yeah, I'm looking into like the hero that can use a sword and everything. And of course Luca's father thought that that was him. He's like, okay, cool, we'll have to look into that. So Luca gets Harry back to his kingdom. He's like, all right, fine, cool. And he's like, hey, if you ever need any help, I'll repay your father's the debt that I owe your father for saving my ass. So if you ever need anything, come and get me. And he goes back off. Luca goes to his house, finds, of course, his father's underling. He's like, oh god, no, I thought you were dead and everything. But he's able to look through, see stuff about the whole sword and all that, and that the one friend of Rodrigo would be able to help him out with that sword. And of course, he's like, hey, we're having this trouble with this monster Bjorn, so if you could do that, I'll let you marry my daughter too, Nira. And Luca had dealings with Nira before, and there's travels with his father, and he also runs into Bianca, someone that he had run in before as well. And it's kind of interesting because you're thinking, okay, who's he going to kind of go for? But he goes off to try and get the sword and everything, but he gets like his ass kicked. But Bianca then helps him out, and they're able to get it. And he's not able to pull out the sword. It's like, what the hell? It's stuck in the sheath. It's like, all right, fine, whatever. But he's able to get Bjorn to become a good monster. So, yeah, okay, cool. And we also see that there's this slime following him around that he calls Gutrude, and he's also got a saber cat named Percy, and that's kind of cool. So we see him kind of like getting monsters to his size. Like, that's kind of interesting. So he's pretty much ready to do that and go forward with the marriage with Nira, but this old witch woman gives him a potion that'll reveal his true feelings, and he instead calls off the marriage with Nira and instead goes with Bianca. And we see that the witch was actually Nira in disguise, and even though the father was like making it out to be like, well, the father wasn't in on it, so he was like kind of pissed off about the whole thing, but it all works out. So they go off, they get married, and they have a kid. And it's like, wow, he's got those really interesting eyes. And we see that the sword is shaking in its sheath. It's like, okay. But at that point, Ladja pops up. It's like, oh god, the monsters are coming. And Luca gets turned to stone. Bianca gets taken up, and we find out that she's one of the lost lineage that is of the same race that Luca's mother is. So she knows the spells and everything to get into the demon world. And he tries to use Bianca to get that because his mother is like locked in a sphere thing, pretty much being like, "Screw you! I ain't telling you shit!" And Bianca's like, "Screw you! I ain't telling you shit!" And she gets stoned up too. So 8 years pass because the kid's got to grow up. And then, of course, Luca's able to get out of the stone. And he's able to give the sword to his son, who uses it and kicks some ass. And like, all right, we got to figure out what to do. So they need to get up top and stop Ladja from doing everything that he's doing. And to do that, they need a dragon ride. Well, the orb that he had that was going to let the dude who helped him previously escape from the town is not the orb that would turn him into a dragon. Interesting. I'm like, okay, so you can switch from human form to dragon form, but you need an orb to do it. Okay, cool. Now, granted, it's also like Akira Toriyama, Dragon Balls, and all that kind of stuff. It still fits. I'm like, yeah, okay. So this introduces a time traveling element because he like goes off, figures out that he needs the orb thing, and the orb is in the past, so he has to go back to his younger self and take it and switch it out. I'm like, okay, I don't really think that was kind of needed. They could have went off and got the stone easier, because whenever you introduce time travel elements, it gets kind of hairy. Now, granted, this is pared down, so it doesn't present really any problems, other than he had it as a kid. He probably would have been able to keep it as an adult, because he kept that sword for a long time, too. So, they're able to give the orb to the old man, and they fly on up. They're able to get Bianca out of there, and they pretty much beat Ladja's ass. But the thing is, his mother is killed, and he kind of absorbs his mother and uses a spell to open up the demon portal. And, of course, his kid's able to run up and throw the sword in there to stop the demon world thing. But then the most interesting thing happens. We start figuring out that we're actually in a video game. It's a VR recreation of Dragon Quest V. I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. And that the thing that's now coming after him and like fucking up with the world and all that is a virus sent by a hacker, pretty much saying that you're a loser kind of shit. I'm like, fuck you. And he's like, no, this is real. This is just another reality. And I'm like, hey, I kind of like this mediation on video games. It's like, okay, I wasn't expecting this. And this kind of made it really cool. I kind of like this twist. I'm like, all right, because we see him getting put in and having to make all of his choices and all that. And his his love for the video game allows him to be able to take on the virus. And because Gertrude was actually an antivirus program, turns into the Sword of Light from Dragon Quest XI, and he's able to take out the antivirus and set the world to right as he then goes off to finish out his adventure. And he's like, yeah, I really liked this, because we see him mediate as he's been playing all these games through his whole life, and just his passion for it and what these worlds mean. It's not wasted. It's not being childish to play these things. These adventures, these characters leave impressions on you. They're not just fake worlds. They're just other realities. And I'm like, I really subscribe to that fact, that even though we have stories and books and comic books and movies and video games, that because of how crazy and interesting the universe is, there are worlds like that that exist. And just because they're video games or whatnot to us and we experience them in different ways doesn't mean that it makes them any less real, that they're not worth anything. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty kind of cool. I wasn't expecting that kind of shit out of this movie. I'm like, oh yeah, Dragon Quest, your story. And you kind of lived up to that. So I really liked it, and seeing him kind of go towards the end of the video game with Bianca and everything, and just kind of close it out like that as they're going off to celebrate that the heroes have conquered the darkness once again and brought light to the world. And it's just like, yeah, that's cool. That's kind of the feeling I got after finishing Dragon Quest XI. I'm like, yeah, this did a good job of capturing Dragon Quest and making it kind of interesting. Now, granted, I did have problems trying to keep up with certain names and everything going throughout, but I'm like, okay, that's one thing, because I was not really familiar with Dragon Quest V. But I'm like, okay, this was a pretty interesting adaptation and made me more interested to look into other things of the Dragon Quest series. So, I kind of liked it with, especially the twist at the end of like building up Luca, since this was a dude who was like made the character name and went in. I was actually going to pick the Nira character, even though he usually goes with Bianca, and even the game was able to kind of be like, you want the other character, pick the other character. I'm like, that's kind of interesting, and I was like, all right, cool, because before that, I'm like, okay, this is. I was ready to just kind of like have it off as like, okay, this is a nice kind of just safe kind of movie, anime movie that anybody could watch. Now, granted, it's still that. I don't think you really waste your time on it. It's just a kind of fun, lighthearted movie with a nice fantasy setting of just basic kind of good versus evil thing that gets a video game twist at the end. And I'm like, yeah, that's really kind of cool. It's the journey, not the destination, that worked out. And it really did work out. This is a really good example of the journey mattering more than the destination. It's like, yes, you had your theme, you executed it well, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So I would really recommend this to anybody to watch, really. It definitely, if you're being like, I don't know about damn anime movies, this one would definitely be good for kids, adults, anybody really. There's no really kind of crazy things other than people dying, pretty much. And then video games of pretty much a dude being a dick, being like, hey, I'm a hacker, fuck you, noob, kind of shit. But kind of how it works out. So, yeah, and if you just really need anything on the background, this will definitely be something good on the background. If you really want to watch it, it's good. And if you need something in the background, definitely good. I would recommend this hands down, actually. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.